All right, how's everyone doing? I'm Rich Salenza. Thanks for checking out the Rich Salenza Show. So, what I'm going to talk about today is bullies. I haven't done a podcast on this in a while, and I'm going to take a different approach because I've been around lately some young guys, and they talk about how they were bullied, and especially when they were younger. And if you know anything about me, I try to help men master their self confidence, and I run across this a lot. And I'm going to tell you right now how I approach this. And I wouldn't necessarily say it means that everybody's been bullied throughout their life, but I do believe most people throughout their life have been bullied in one way or another, or I should say also made fun of. Because I think there's a fine line. Like when we think of bullies, we think it's maybe some guy bigger or whatever pushing you around, making you uncomfortable, maybe putting physical harm on you, or these things are just verbally abusing you. And I get it, right? But I do think, too, there is another form of bullying, right, that makes others people feel stupid. And I've talked about this kind of in two ways, and that's what I learned in high school. I'll bring it up very quickly, is I realized, like a lot of times in the classroom, I wasn't the best student, so kids would say things, not too bad, because I probably would have gotten in a fight with them, but making you feel stupid. Even your teacher may give little comments that makes you feel dumb, right? And, even your friends may be saying things, especially if you're not a good student, right? They're kind of making fun of you, especially a lot of the more intelligent kids, especially if you kind of get blended in a class that you're kind of way over your head. And, in school, I don't know, like they had lower, they had a middle kind of, and then you got the honors programs and all that. And sometimes all these kids would get blended. But to make a long story short, I felt stupid. But then I realized when I would go out and say it was gym class or intramurals or sports, a lot of those kids that were smart or geeky, they didn't have the same physical ability I had. Now on the playground, they're not getting picked first. Nobody's throwing the ball to them. Everybody's ignoring them. So they're are they getting bullied? Probably not. Just like I wasn't necessarily getting bullied because they were saying comments that I'm not the sharpest at that subject. But in this point in time, I'm not bullying them. I'm ignoring them. I'm sure they're feeling, when you get picked last every time, how's that make you feel? I don't care what it is in life. But when it came to something educational and they're doing a project, I'm getting picked last. So it's kind of on both ends. But what I want to get into with this situation is, again, I believe no one goes unscathed from being either made fun of or bullied. I don't care how handsome you are, because a lot of guys that are good looking may get frowned upon by other dudes. They may get bullied. They may be called pretty boy or whatever the case may be. I don't care even if you're a jock. I think a lot of people thought maybe, a jock, nothing. Again, people behind closed doors may be making fun of this person. They may be saying certain things to him, automatically assuming maybe they're stupid, especially back in the day. Again, they may have something like anybody else. Say you have a goofy forehead, or say you got a nose, or, just because you're a jock, again, you may have flaws, and people may have made, fun of them or you if you've had this. And this goes across the board. I don't need to start listing everything, but I do think, for the most part, most people have been in environments where people made fun of them, or I'm not saying physically bullied them, but just degraded them. Okay? It could be even in your own household. It could be your parents. It could be your grandparents. It could be your siblings. It could be aunts, uncles, cousins. Again, nobody goes unscathed. All right? And I want people to understand too, though, a lot of that, people saying shit to you, it works in a couple ways. I think we always kind of look at it and say, he made fun of me, so I never thought I could say fitness. I'll just use for example. Everybody made fun of me that, that I was weak and I was small and scrawny. So that's kind of how I am. I don't like lifting weights. I don't like doing anything athletic. I'm afraid or whatever. I get it. But here's the deal. You can also use that as fuel. I did. I was always the runt. They call me bird legs. They call you peepee arms. They call you all these different names. And believe me, I was a strong kid, but I was just small. But people were always kind of throwing digs at me. But instead of using that to my disadvantage, I used that to fuel me to, kind of make me stronger. And I think I did that with education as well, because like I spoke earlier, I'm not the greatest student in the world. But I really didn't think my teachers, which they were more educated than me, I didn't think a lot of them were that much sharper than me. And I don't think a lot of people out there, realize all their potential. The thing is, I think what they lack is understanding they can't do it all. So if I want to write a book, I know I can voice my opinion and write a book, but I need an editor to polish it off, or I need somebody else to work with to create that. And a lot of people don't realize so does everybody else. a lot of authors, or I'm just using them for example, a lot of people that are accomplishing a lot of things, even in tech companies and all this, they need help. You just may need some help. Don't, just ask for it. I think that's the other thing people have to understand. And I've talked about this too before with being kind of, when I was younger, I used to go to, we moved once for 1 year and we were going to different classes for CCD, which is a Catholic class you take on weekends before Mass. And, you go in for a couple hours or whatever. And I went to a different place for a year. And there was all these different kids because I went to a different school for the first few years of my life. And then all of a sudden I'm in a different place for a year. And there were a bunch of bigger guys. And bigger kids, because I was the smaller kid, and they were kind of making fun of me. I'm the new kid. I don't think they liked that I was Italian, to be honest, and I had an Italian jacket on, whatever, saying shit. After a while, I think they just, honestly, they truly underestimated. This actually happened twice in my life, but when I was younger, right around the same time, this situation. But my uncles were tough guys, and they were big. And my uncles used to say, just go after the biggest guy. Once you take him on, you know what I mean? And you could win or lose. They're going to be a whole different respect. So I literally went after the biggest guy, right? They were talking shit. I remember we're going down the stairs. We went outside. I think I punched him right in his face. Just started punching the shit out of him. And I think a bunch of other kids, we were young. You're in third grade. They're pulling you off. They're not like jumping you or anything. From there on out, no problems. Now, I'm not telling you to go out and fight and everything. This is when we're children, of course. So you're not going to be as, not like when you're adults and you start punching each other. But my point being is I had to stand up for myself. And by doing those type of things led me to who I was. And I ended up in the same time somebody was goofing around me at lunchtime, making fun of me. And I jumped over the table. I got in another jam with them. Now, these are just fights as kids, just so we're clear. But I do think those were the type of things that, you got to sometimes stand up for yourself. Sometimes it may be physical, sometimes it's verbal. You've got to do that for yourself. Do not let people bash you. Do not let people, make fun of you. There's a difference between making fun of each other for fun or then when it gets to the point where you're just degrading somebody. There's a difference between laughing with somebody and then at somebody, right? And if you are somebody out there who pulls a lot of this shit, I talk about this a lot with my girlfriend. I see a lot of disputes you may see on the news or you hear about it on social media where people snap or stuff happens. I'm like, a lot of times we just look at the person who snapped and did something to somebody. But a lot of times we don't realize what those other people were doing to this person after a while, right? So I just wanted to do a podcast on this. I just want people to know I believe no matter who you are, how good looking you are, how built you are, how stylized you are, how wealthy you are. Don't think even a lot of people think because they're wealthy that that they walk around and nobody makes fun of them. I can assure you a lot of times having wealth, especially in certain areas, is not always an advantage, right? A lot of people, could just have an issue with you. And again, that could be nationality, that could be religion, it can be all these things. Again, we're all going to maybe find ourselves in situations where people around us are not comfortable around us either. So they may just not want to be around you or may say things to you. You may just have to get away from those people. That doesn't mean you have to get in a fight with them. Doesn't mean you have to do anything. I saw a quote lately that it was very interesting. The best thing you may be able to do for you, excuse me, one of the best things you could do is when somebody's kind of treating you unkind, you treat them kind. But if that doesn't work, just walk away. I'm not saying to be a bitch either. Let's not get ridiculous. But if you have people around you, it could be at work, it could be in your family, friends, wherever. Somebody I wouldn't consider them friends, but if they're treating you a certain way, you do not have to tolerate that, especially as an adult. But people don't seem to acknowledge that. They feel like, it's okay for somebody else to abuse them because they've been abused their whole life, or their acceptance of that. Or they pretend no sweat off my back, who gives a shit? They talk like this all the time. I can assure you most likely that is affecting you more than you think it is. All right? So basically don't put up with shit. All right? Got any questions or comments, you can hit me up. I have a Mastering Self-Confidence program I sell online, masteringselfconfidence.com, and I'm richtolenza.com. I help a lot of guys with their identity, wardrobe, fitness, and a lot of guys I talk to, I think that's one of the things they talk to me about most is when they were younger or in school, high school, even college, whatever, they were very quiet or they felt like a lot of times they couldn't fit in either. They don't have that confidence to believe in themselves. And I'm telling you, you'd be shocked if you start believing in who you are, how far it's going to go. But maybe you allowed others to make you feel not worthy of who the hell you are. It's ridiculous. Don't let anybody ever tell you that shit. All right? All right. Take care.